I know this is awkward and weird and awful, but we're gonna make the best of it. So I'm Caitlin. You can call me Caitlin. I'm gonna take you through the syllabus right now, just so you can get a feel for what we're expecting, what we're gonna do during this class. I'll talk briefly about a number of things. So this would be awful if we were all together and you had to listen to me kind of just like drone on about it. So I'm gonna do it here so that you can pause and do other things and um, not get bored out of your mind. So do this at your own pace. Watch this ideally before we have class on Wednesday, but just do your best. I understand that things are crazy right now, and some of you are probably moving into dorms, and it's utter chaos. So it's okay if you don't quite finish it, but it would be great if you did. I'm about to share a screen so that you can see the syllabus, and I'm basically just going to talk you through it. Okay. Okay. So I don't really know how this works exactly, so we're going to see how this goes, but I hope you can all see this. Make it bigger for you. Okay. So this is the introduction to literature. We're technically meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 9:50. Again, my name is Caitlin Simmons. It says Zoom office hours. It'll likely be Teams. It just depends on when I get access to things. But I will always be available Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 to 11, so right after class. And of course, always by appointment. So if you have a class that's right after this, I understand. Let me know and I will adjust. My Tuesdays and Thursdays are pretty packed, but basically anytime Monday, Wednesday, Friday that's easier for you to meet, I will be available and I will make time for you. The course texts, ideally, I think they're going to eventually be at the campus bookstore, but they may not be. So you may have to go on Amazon or go to a local bookstore and see if you can figure this out. I bet it's cheaper through them anyway. Two of them are available online, so or technically three of them. So Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, that's a graphic novel. I will give you the links to that. It is definitely online. It's a PDF. You can write all over it. So I think that's ideal. This collection of texts can be fairly expensive, so I completely understand if you want to stick to doing that online. There's also a book called Passing by Nella Larson. This is available online, but I couldn't find a PDF, and it also makes it seem like it's a lot longer than it is. In the book that I have, it's only 120 pages, but when I looked online, it makes it about 200 pages, and I don't know about you, but that would mess with my mind a little bit. So that's up to you. You can absolutely get it for free online, or you can pay, I think it's like 12 or $13 to get the copy. Whatever you prefer. As long as you're taking notes on it, I don't care. The Death of Jim Loney by James Welch, which we're reading towards the end of the semester, that you actually do have to purchase. I could not find it online. Of course, I'm not as savvy as some of you may be, so if you can find it online, then please share with the class so that everyone doesn't have to pay for it. That would be great. And then Literary Studies by M.A.R. Habib. This is kind of like an introductory text that's going to take us through the different phases of literary history and talk about all these different movements. It's fairly simplistic and I think approachable, and I think it will be useful. That said, it's definitely not going to be found online because it's new. So you likely have to purchase that text. If people are struggling to get it because of the bookstore, at least at first, I'm happy to kind of take pictures of my version and post them as PDFs, but that will get old for me after a while. So that will probably be a book that you also have to purchase. Everything else is going to be just PDFs that I make for you or Word docs that I make for you. A lot of things can be found online. We're going to do a lot of poetry, a lot of short stories, so that should be easy. Hopefully, then that limits you to having to buy 2 texts, maybe 3. It should keep the prices down. Okay, so this is a hybrid class, and uh, hybrid to me just means that it's synchronous, and what that means is that you're scheduled Monday, Wednesday, Friday to have this class from 9 to 9:50. So that means you need to have that time available, and that means we're going to meet digitally or virtually from 9 to 9:50 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we'll have conversations as a class together about the text that we have read. It says here also that I will likely break your class into two. So there are 25 people in this class. That can be very difficult to have a conversation on Microsoft Teams, especially since right now you can't even see more than 9 people. So that's really annoying. I guess they said that that will change at the end of August, but we'll see what actually happens. So I'm going to break you up. It's into 12 and 13, and we'll talk about different texts during that kind of smaller time frame. And I'll switch those groups up. So you'll never just be with the same group of 12 or 13 the entire semester. I'll switch it all up so everybody gets to know each other and we have different and strange and fun conversations with one another that don't get mundane and monotonous as we go on. I know sometimes when we have just a small group of people, we can start to just get used to each other's personalities, and it can be really difficult to have a conversation. So this will switch up. Before every class session, you're going to be responsible for watching a lecture like this, something where I just kind of talk and give the background. And then that's just so we don't waste time in a virtual setting with me talking about things that are you're like you don't even have to memorize them, but just things that are just boring and that will help you, but are not going to be fun if we're sitting in a virtual classroom. So you'll need to watch these prior to attending this 25-minute session. And it'll help you kind of read the stuff that we're assigned anyway. And then also, I'm going to provide you with questions in advance before, probably on Saturday or Sunday before the week begins, about the text that we'll be reading. And so you'll have these questions. I call them quick writes. Where I want you to just respond to these questions. They don't have to be formal. They can be your emotional response. Sometimes I will ask for your emotional response even. And they should take literally no more than 5 to 10 minutes. So if we were in an actual classroom, we might start the class off that way, with you sitting and just writing for 5 minutes your reaction to some aspect of the text or some issue of theme that I bring to the table for you. And this is just going to give me a kind of idea of what you guys are interested in and what you thought about the text so that I can approach it a little bit differently when we're actually having our discussion. And I recognize that normally you would be in a class for 50 minutes, and so it would just be limited to that, and that would be the amount of time that you can do your work. But that's also kind of the point, is if you only have 25-minute meetings, then it's okay that you have to watch a 15-minute lecture and do 5 minutes of writing before we get to class. That technically takes up the 50 minutes, right? So I will do my best to never go over that 50 minutes. Of course, you'll have homework, but I don't want you to have to be watching lectures in your own time that exceeds that by a lot. During team meetings, I would love it if you guys showed your faces, just so that we can build a community in the classroom. Also, it makes me feel totally insane if I'm talking to a bunch of black screens. That's uncomfortable for me, and it makes me feel like I'm talking to a wall. So I would love to see your faces, see your reactions, so that if you hate something, and I can see that, and we can adjust, and I can embrace that. I guess I should just say right now, it's totally okay if you hate something in this class. I want you to voice that. I also want you to voice if you really enjoy something. Literature, well, let's see. Parts of literature are inevitably going to be hated by some people, whereas other people really love them. And so I would love to hear everyone's actual opinions. There's nothing wrong with you saying, this thing sucks, or I hate this piece, or why did you make us read this, Caitlin? And I will try to answer effectively. That's fine, as long as you're still engaging with the text and thinking about why it's so terrible and why you hate it and how it failed. As long as you're thinking critically about it, I'm okay with you hating some of the stuff that we look at. Ideally, you will enjoy at least one thing that we talk about. I try really hard to assign texts that are actually kind of enjoyable, kind of fun, and that are somewhat relevant, if I can do that for us. If something doesn't work in this class, if you're annoyed with something that we're doing in this class, if you're really struggling with one aspect of it and you think that it could be changed for the better, I'm very open to suggestions. I don't like this online setting. It's kind of, we're forced into it, and I am happy to adjust things if you think that there's something that we can do differently or better. I mean, don't be mean or anything, but definitely bring it to my attention and we will adjust. I will try to figure out a way to meet your demands, because as much as I'm here to teach you and I want you to learn, I also want you to enjoy this a little bit in moments. Sometimes you're not going to like it, and that's inevitable, but I want there to be a relationship with me and you guys where you're able to feel comfortable enough to tell me that something's not working so that we can change things. And I really am genuinely open to that, as long as you don't yell at me. Okay. As far as I know, there is a writing center and it is open online. So that means that you can talk to people about your projects, about your papers, and get their input and get help with it. And that can be about brainstorming, outlining, rough drafts, final drafts, grammar, I think, to some degree. So please, if I'm not available or you've kind of procrastinated or I don't know, something's gone awry, then please talk to the writing center. See what they can do. They can offer suggestions, they can offer help. Okay. So the catalog description basically just says that this is a course, a study of literature, types and themes with an emphasis on the relationships between form and idea. That's really just general and basic and kind of annoying, to be honest. What this really is, and I say this more in the course description, is a survey course. And so this introduction to literature, I'm somehow supposed to take you through something as early as Shakespeare. Don't worry, we're not going to read a lot of Shakespeare. To the contemporary moment. And I should say that I'm much more interested in the contemporary moment. I study multi-ethnic contemporary American literature. So I am much more interested in us getting to the really fun, interesting stuff that comes at the end of the semester. So we're going to breeze through some of the earlier stuff as fast as we can, because I don't love teaching it. I know you guys don't love reading it. It's a bunch of like old white dudes. I'm not super into it. I picked pieces that I think will be representative of the time period so that you are aware of the time period and that you do learn how literature has kind of progressed through the ages. But I kind of intentionally did that very quickly so that in the last 6-7 weeks, we're reading really contemporary pieces after like the 1960s. I particularly am interested in Native American literature, so that's something that we will touch on a bit more in the latter portion of this course. But I bring in a lot of stuff. We're going to look at music. We're going to be looking at a variety of different things. So if you can just stick with me through the parts where we have to like read a sonnet, then I think we'll benefit and you'll benefit at the end, and I think you'll start to enjoy it. So kind of stick with me on this. Trust me a little bit. I think it'll be okay. So basically, we work to understand how these literary movements are situated in history, how they interact and overlap with one another, and then we'll also consider some theoretical philosophies. So like Marxism, psychoanalysis, mainly critical race theory. And then we'll just talk about their relationship to an assortment of texts. Like it says here, the second half of the course is going to focus predominantly on multi-ethnic contemporary literature and close reading. We're going to take note of and address formal questions of genre and language, in addition to themes of trauma, violence, ethics, communication, imagery, and other potential concerns that arise throughout our discussions. We don't have a major theme here, but if one starts to peak out and we start to be interested in something that continues to repeat itself, then by all means, we can focus the course on something that you guys are interested in. That requires that you speak up and tell me what interests you so that I can start pulling those elements out, which is kind of what the quick writes are for. We're also going to work through the process of writing as a kind of personal conversation between ourselves as writers and the text that we read. I won't be talking as much about writing as you're probably used to in your composition courses, but we will, of course, talk about how to write a paper, how to research for this kind of a paper, how to compose this and write a really good, strong thesis, which I think will help you in all of your courses. And I should say that's a really important part of this for me, is to teach you how to write, teach you how to analyze in ways that will help you regardless of your major. If you're a business major, if you're an engineering major, even if you're like a nursing major, these are going to help you to kind of understand texts that we're confronted with on a regular basis and help you to really delve deeply into them. Okay. This goes through the kind of outcomes and expectations. Hopefully you're going to appreciate close reading and writing. You'll refine your reading, speaking, and writing skills and learn how to respond critically and thoughtfully to literary texts and other media. Trust me, we'll do other media. to understand meaning beyond the literal and immediate, to sharpen your ability to do research. You'll start to see yourself as a reader and recognize the influence of individual differences, such as gender, ethnicity, geography, and our personal experiences on interpretation. You'll ideally strengthen your analytical and critical responses. You'll ideally gain confidence in close reading and analytical skills. And you'll start to see how literature is kind of in conversation with broader cultural contexts. And hopefully you'll start to understand yourself better as a reader, and maybe you'll like a book and you'll pick up another book or another poem later. That's the dream, but I don't expect that to actually happen. Well, I kind of do, I hope. Okay. I'm moving into policies. Most, if not all of your questions are going to be answered on this syllabus. That's why it's so long. I don't really stray from its organization unless we decide to as a class. If we're like, we can't do this anymore and we need to move, we will. I will never move up a deadline. I will occasionally push back a deadline if I think you guys need an extra day or two or even an extra week. I'm not opposed to that. You need to speak up and let me know, though, because I'm not going to, I don't always know when you guys are struggling. So please, if you're struggling, you're having a rough time, you're overwhelmed with other classes, things are going on, please talk to me and we will figure it out. Okay. Email is the best way to reach me at any given time. I usually respond within 24 hours, usually a lot sooner than that. My phone is attached to me. I get my emails immediately for the most part. Please email me with your student emails. And if you're using like a Gmail account that has a weird name, then just make sure you introduce yourself in the body of the text right away. Please do not email me to ask what you may have missed if you are absent. It tells you what you missed on the syllabus. It'll tell you what we discussed. That's ideally why, I'll talk about this later, but ideally you're going to have an email address of a fellow student that you can reach out to and ask them what you have missed. And you can always come to my office hours. And it says you may also Zoom during office hours. It'll likely be Teams. We'll see how this goes, but you can always come and ask me what you missed during office hours when I'm actually available and willing to talk to you about it. But emails just me. That means I have to write out my whole lesson plan again to you guys, and I don't want to do that. That sucks for me. Please begin all of your emails with an appropriate greeting. Use grammatically correct and polite prose and sign off with a courteous closing. Mainly because this is practice for you having to talk to other professors that are a little bit stricter than I am. Please check your email daily. I will send assignment updates and reminders. Usually it's to cancel assignments. So you'll end up doing more work if you don't read your emails. I promise you that. So please just start checking your emails on a regular basis. Occasionally I'll change the reading, but really it's more, sometimes I'm just like, don't even just do that assignment. It's pointless. And then you don't have to do it and it cuts work off for you. So just check your email. This class is going to be based in class discussion. So everyone needs to be mindful and respectful of those who are speaking in class. Especially when it's virtual. If you're having a side conversation or you're talking to like your mom or your dad or your brother or sister or your friend, we can hear you and it can disrupt somebody else. So make sure that you're not interrupting your classmates when they are speaking. Try not to have side conversations. Try not to kind of carry on a conversation with someone in the actual virtual room. I've never experienced that, but I've heard that it can happen. So please try not to do that. I want you guys to be present and I want you to engage in these conversations and I want you to talk as much as you're comfortable talking. And even if you're not comfortable talking, I want you to talk. Okay. We need to listen to each other, let each other finish our thoughts, and engage in really strong and important conversation. And I think that if we kind of let this happen and we're all willing to like talk and come to the table and discuss things, it's actually really enjoyable. And those 25 minutes go by really, really fast. I know how difficult it is to stay up to date with online courses when it's online. It feels like you have all the time in the world to watch things. The problem is that I scaffold this course. We're going to be learning something, and then we're going to need that thing that we learn in order to understand the next thing. So you need to keep up. Make sure that this is something that you do on a regular basis. Get in a routine. Like every Sunday night, you watch the lecture for Monday. Every Tuesday night, you watch the lecture for Wednesday. Get in a routine that's comfortable for you so that you can watch these. Maybe your thing is to watch all of the lectures on Sunday. I think I might be able to do that. We'll see how organized I stay throughout the semester. But maybe that's your thing. Find the thing that you need to do in order to stay on top of this, in order to stay organized. Because as soon as you get behind in quick writes, your grade's going to drop. You're not going to feel like you can contribute to classes. Everything's kind of fall apart a little bit. So please stay up to date as much as you possibly can. If that becomes a problem, if something's going on in your life, if COVID, I don't know, if something is happening, talk to me. Please come and talk to me. I know that it's difficult to do it virtually. It feels uncomfortable, but please do your best. I will work it out with you to the best of my ability. Okay. Let's see. It says here, and I want to say it again, sitting quietly on a Zoom meeting is painful. Don't do that. Let's not do that to each other. It sucks to have to sit for 25 minutes when it's a struggle to have a conversation. I will not ask difficult questions unless we work up to them. Please contribute your thoughts and opinions. Even if you think it's like slightly irrelevant or it's not that important, it probably will get us talking. So please share your thoughts whenever you can. You need to attend class. Nothing's going to compensate for a missed session. If you miss these discussions, the chances of you being able to write a good paper about something is going to be very minimal. You need that discussion. You need to hear what your other classmates say. You need to hear what I say in order to really bring your analysis to the next level. You need to show up. If you think, though, that something is going to happen and you're going to have a lengthy absence, and I realize now in this time that there's going to be a lot of reasons why this could possibly happen, just tell me. Even if you're like, I don't know if this is bad, I don't know if this is going to be a terrible thing, I don't want to like bring it to Caitlin's attention if it doesn't turn out to be anything. I don't care. Bring it to my attention anyway. Just tell me before it becomes a major issue. Don't be a hero. I've seen people just like, oh, I thought it was just this thing. And then like a month later, they're failing the class because they never said anything. Just say something. If I have advanced knowledge, I can work something out with you. If you tell me way after the fact, I can't do anything. Okay. Each of you is allowed 3 unexcused absences without penalty. So this is a 9 a.m. class. 3 times that you sleep in and say, I just can't do it. You get 3 of those, okay? After that, it's going to drop your grade. That's just how it goes. I'm going to be up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, despite the fact that I love to go to sleep at 3 in the morning and wake up at noon. I'm going to be here at 9 a.m. to talk to you guys about literature. You can join me. I promise we can get through this together, okay? Excused absences, you need to have documentation. You have to try to inform me within 2 days. Valid reasons include, but are not limited to, university sanctioned events, physical ailments, military obligations, court imposed obligations. I'm sure there are other ones, and I will just deal with them on a case-to-case basis. I will facilitate makeup work for major assignments. Mostly it'll just be like, you need to do it earlier and submit it, or we'll work out a new due date, whatever. We're not going to have quizzes, most likely. Well, we might have small quizzes. I don't want to say that. But if the unexcused absences are exceeded, I'm going to lower your final grade. Just that's a heads up. Participation, again, and I know that I've said this 3 times, but now you should recognize how important it is. This is a discussion-based class. You're going to be expected to participate actively. That means bringing things up whenever we are meeting, talking as much as you can, asking questions. All of these things are ways that you can participate. Always have the text with you so that you can refer to it, because we'll look at pages, and if you're not looking at it, I can tell, and then I'm like, what are they doing, and do they even know what's going on? And I question that. You're going to receive 2 participation grades, so one halfway through the semester and one at the end. So that means maybe you get like a C or a D in the first part because you're just not willing to talk, and you realize, oh crap, like I need to do that. And so in the second half, you have a chance to improve and to go up. Doesn't guarantee that you'll go up, but you have a chance. So participation, you get 2 grades. It gives you a chance to stay where you're at if you're happy with the grade you get, or to raise the level if you're not. Classwork and homework cannot be made up. Missed quick writes and reading responses cannot be made up. They're not worth that much anyway. But major papers, your late work will be docked 1 letter grade for every day late. So you need to talk to me. If you want an extension, I'm happy to give you an extension. We'll set a new deadline. You'll meet that new deadline. But if you don't talk to me and you just turn it in late, every day that it's late, it's going to be docked a letter grade. In other words, please talk to me, okay? Plagiarism, don't do it. Please don't do it. You're going to submit everything online through Turnitin. It's going to catch you anyway, and then it's just going to be embarrassing for you. Just don't plagiarize. Do your own work, quote things correctly, ask me questions if you're ever confused about anything. I'm here to help you and to teach you. We can talk more about this if we need to, but just don't. I'd rather you ask for an extension last minute than turn in something that isn't yours. Okay? Let's see. General assignments. All assignments that require responses must be submitted to Moodle before the deadline. Also, I'm gonna give you feedback on your headings, so like where you put your name and the date and etc. I'm going to tell you immediately if this is incorrect. This will give you an opportunity to adjust. If you don't adjust it, then I assume you haven't read my comments, which is infuriating because I'm going to comment on a lot of your stuff and it takes a lot of my time. And I want you to read my comments and to take them seriously. So change things up when I actually give you comments. If I see that you're not reading my comments, you're not changing anything, I'm going to be upset. And I think that's reasonable because I put time into it. I expect you to put time into it as well. All major assignments must be completed satisfactorily for you to receive a passing grade. There are 3 major close reading assignments. You'll have an image analysis, a general analysis, and a historical analysis. And I'll explain those as the class goes on. They're not going to be super difficult. I wanted to keep it to 3 instead of 4. You'll have mostly a choice of what you actually want to write about, although I might make suggestions. And of course, we can always discuss them together. The point is, if you fail to submit or perform any one of these 3 major assignments, you're going to automatically fail the course. So if you're just like, I don't really care, I want to see, I'm just not going to do this last paper, you're not going to get a C, you're going to fail the class. So you need to turn in something. Even if it's not good, you need to turn in something for all 3 of those. Final grades are determined on an A through F scale. I just want to really reiterate right now that earning a C means that you did average, means that you did okay, means that you filled the requirements, you did kind of surface level analysis, you did all right. That's a C. It doesn't mean that you did badly, it just means you did okay. A B is like, you're almost killing it. Like, you raised the bar in terms of analysis, you were really pushing yourself, and an A is near perfect. Those are the levels, right? Grades are calculated according to the following scale. I think you guys know this. I will not round your grades up at the end. I say this to kind of cover my own ass because I think that you guys are going to probably email me at the end of the semester and be like, I have a 79.99999. Why can't I get a B minus? And this tells you exactly why. I'm fairly generous for the most part. So I really kind of already tried to get you that higher grade throughout the process. So the chances of me rounding up are pretty slim. Of course, there are exceptions to this. Just saying. Okay. So we have class participation, that's worth 15%. We have paper 1, that's worth 15%. Paper 2 is worth 20% because you're going to do a little bit more work. And paper 3, you're going to have a little bit of research to do, so I'm giving that 25%. If something goes on in the class where things don't quite work out the way that I anticipated, then we can change that, of course. You'll have quick writes, which are worth 10%. We're also going to have you do a song analysis. So that's 2 to 3 pages. This is actually supposed to be a fun assignment where you pick out a song or a music video and you just do an analysis of it. So it'll be a close reading. We'll talk about songs during this class and you'll get to pick one. And usually students enjoy it. And I get to learn about new music, so I enjoy it too. And you'll also have a listening analysis. And what that means is, I mean, normally, if it wasn't COVID, I would make you guys go out and actually go to a reading or go to a play and like see something actually in person. But since we can't do that, what you're going to be responsible for is finding a reading online by one of the authors that we've talked about in the class. And you'll need to see how they read the poem that maybe we've looked at already, and you can write a comparison or you can just write an emotional response. It's only 5%. It's just to get you to see the difference between when we talk about it and read it and when the author actually performs it. Here are your due dates. Essays basically just says like you actually need to do some editing. It needs to be a final draft. It needs to look okay. It needs to be a good effort on your part. All essays need to be in MLA format, so that means 12-point font, double space, Times New Roman, proper heading, 1-inch margins. We'll talk about this when you submit things. I want to be able to break you guys up into groups occasionally. I don't know how that looks virtually, so I'm going to work that out and see what I can do. I know I can break you up into small groups on Zoom. I don't know if I can do that in Teams. I'm going to see what I can do and if that's even something you guys are interested in. So we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. Here is the course schedule. I want you guys to note that we're starting with mouse, which is weird because it's a fairly contemporary text. What I have found is that reading graphic novels and looking at images is much easier than just going straight into like poetry or short stories. So we're going to start with mouse just so that we can get our footing in terms of close reading. Also, people tend to enjoy it. It's a good graphic novel. Hopefully it'll make you interested in other graphic novels. It's a good text, and it lends itself pretty easily to a lot of analysis. It's been a successful assignment in previous classes. I think that this will kick us off in the right way. So it's going to start out kind of fun. Well, I mean, as much as the Holocaust is fun, but it's an interesting text. And then it's going to go straight into like the early modern period. So it's going to feel a little bit weird going from something that's contemporary to something that's old, but it's really just to teach you how to analyze and what to look for. And I think that really helps when we move into poetry and other elements. Okay. So you can see that this kind of goes through, Shakespeare. I'm sorry that we have to read Shakespeare. We're just going to do a sonnet. The early modern period, moving into the 17th century, neoclassicism, romanticism, we'll do some Victorianism. I was originally going to have you read a kind of Victorian text, but I was like, no, I can't make them do that. I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. So we're not going to do that. You can see also that it tells you on the day, like what we're discussing that day, and then also gives you the homework. I realize that it's redundant, but I don't want there to be any confusion about what we are reading. So I'm sorry that it's a little bit busy, but that's how we're gonna do this. Then we go into modernism. That's when things kind of start to be okay, because that's when we can read war poets, and we also get into the Harlem Renaissance. And then we're gonna move into Nella Larsen's Passing. The Harlem Renaissance, I think, this is the part. Week 7, week 8, this is where it starts to be okay. We're gonna have some theme days too, where we just have poems, like for example, about America. Not in a positive way. Don't stress about it. And then we'll move into multi-ethnic contemporary literature. So you'll see kind of around the time that we go into civil rights, discuss race and civil rights. We'll be reading some short stories, and then we'll move into Gloria Anzaldúa, the death of Jim Loney. So these are Latinx and Native American texts. We'll read a big kind of collection of different poems towards the end that historically students have really enjoyed. We'll have a day on September 11th, responses. We'll do a little bit of feminist criticism and gender studies. Denez Smith, oh, they're so great. Okay. I think that you will like the end of this course a lot. We're probably not going to have, we're definitely not going to have class Wednesday before Thanksgiving, because I know you guys won't even show up for that. And then I'm kind of going to give you optional conferences that Monday, so we won't have class again, so you'll have a chance to meet with me or go home. That's up to you. I'm not going to take you away from your families, especially during COVID. The rest of this is ADA compliance, the policy on non-discrimination. You can absolutely read that and go to the links if you want to. But that's it for the syllabus. If you have questions about anything, you just email me and ask me, and I will probably share that with the class, because I'm sure that I've missed something, and I'm sure that your questions are good. So, okay, let's see if I can switch this up a little bit. Okay, so back to me. Let's look at one more thing before I let you go in this lecture, and that is a quick PowerPoint. Okay, let's see if I can make this bigger. Okay, perfect. I don't know why it's flashing, but we're going to see how this goes. Okay, please email me with the following information: your preferred name, how to pronounce it if you think that I might struggle with that, where you're from, and that means like, Are you from New Orleans? Like, I don't know. I'm not from the South, so I have no idea where you guys are from. I would love to know. Your pronouns, a book you absolutely hate. Hopefully it's not on the list. A book you absolutely love. Hopefully it is on the list. Your least favorite thing about quarantine, the best movie slash TV show you listened to or watched over summer, or music that you listen to. Your biggest concern about this class, what are you scared of? The names and types of all the pets you have at home, because I need to know this information. It's very important to me. And to be fair, I answered it also for you. My name is Caitlin. You can call me Caitlin. I'm from Southern California. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I might be the only person ever to hate The Great Gatsby, but I do. I hate it. It's the worst. Over the summer, I read The House of Spirits by Isabel Allende, and it was the first time in a long time that I really loved a book, so I'm putting that there. I think the worst part for me about quarantine and this pandemic is not being able to go to shows and concerts. I miss music. I miss live shows. It really upsets me. I just finished watching The Umbrella Academy on Netflix, which I super enjoyed. I'm concerned that because we're online, you all won't enjoy it, this class nearly as much as you should, that you won't learn as much as you should, that we won't connect as much as we should. I have a lot of concerns. I'm really hoping that it goes okay. I have one cat. His name is Hunter S. Thompson, and I call him Tom Tom, and I'm sure you will meet him over the course of the semester. So please send me this information. Also, please let me know. Normally on the first day, I would have you exchange email addresses or phone numbers if you preferred. I can't legally ask you to do that with one of your classmates so that you have someone to reach out to if you miss class or are confused by anything. A buddy in the class, basically. At the end of the email you sent me with all of your information, please let me know if I have permission to give your email address to a fellow classmate. It's absolutely okay if you're not comfortable. That's totally fine. If you are comfortable, then I will likely just pair you up randomly, send each other your email addresses so that you guys have someone to reach out to in the class in case you miss anything or you're confused or you're struggling or you want a peer editor, any of those things, okay? For Wednesday, we will meet all together for our first class via Teams. Unfortunately, Teams is weird and doesn't allow us to have more than 9 people to show up on your screen. It's going to be so weird and awkward and perhaps awful, but we're going to work through it. And if it turns out that we all are just miserable and hate it, then maybe until Teams figures it out, we'll switch to Zoom and we just won't tell anyone. We'll see. I'm going to a convocation tomorrow with the university, and hopefully I will then have access to Moodle and email so that I can do this more formally in a more comfortable way. Regardless, look for an email from either this address that I sent this to you on or a more official one. It's coming. Just look for it. We're going to talk briefly about our past experiences with bad teachers. I shouldn't say that in quotes. There are some really terrible teachers. We're going to talk about bad teachers and discuss how we can make this class work for all of us. Before we get started, I want you to think about the worst class you ever took and why it was so terrible, and also think about the best one you took and consider why it was so successful. So just think that through, because I want to be able to talk about that when we get back. So I think those are it. You can, of course, rewind this so that you can see what those expectations are. Please email those to me before Wednesday, ideally, so that I can have a sense of who you guys are. I think that's it. I tried to go through that as quickly as possible. I know it was probably too long. I'm very sorry about that. We will likely not stay the entire class session on Wednesday. We'll have a conversation. You can ask questions. We'll work it out. I think that's it. I'm really excited to meet you guys. I wish it was under better circumstances, but I think this class is going to be fun, and I think you're going to learn a lot. And I'm pretty stoked to actually get started on this. So if you have questions, again, please feel free to email me. Send me those things that I asked for so that I get to know you a little bit better. Otherwise, I think that's it. I think we can just meet on Wednesday and we'll talk some things out and we'll figure it out. Okay? Have a good couple days. Take a breather, watch some TV. All right. We'll talk soon then.